B, and I am coming to you with another session of Real Talk with Tammi B and Company, the show where we are recording live so that you amazing people can engage with us via the YouTube chat. So, if you are watching via another platform, I invite you to jump on over to YouTube if you have something that you want to say and want to be a part of the conversation. And of course, if you are on YouTube, please, sir, please, ma'am, feel free to interact with us throughout the conversation. Drop chats, ask questions. I do read as many as possible. And before we get started, I do want to ask if you are not part of our community, I invite you to join us by subscribing as we are here weekly at 7:30 p.m. Eastern with new content. And to which I am always extremely grateful for you amazing people being here with us, along with this lovely panel that I have with us tonight. It's the first Wednesday, so we have Wisdom Wednesday, and we have the Queen, Miss Sylvia, stand back with us. Hey, Miss Sylvia.
Greetings.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. And we have a surprise guest because I would have had him on the flyer had I known. But Miss Sylvia brought him in the clutch. We have Mr. Van Dorn with us. Hey, Mr. Van Dorn.
Greetings. Happy to be here. Thank you so much, Tammi.
Greetings. I am happy to have you both. I am so excited because the topic in itself has me ready to okay, let's dive in. Let's dive in. So I do want to acknowledge our girl Cola Eater Great. She's out living her best life. She's out cruising, so she won't be with us. And our man Shelly, he may pop in. He's tied up, but we are going to keep this train rolling. So first of all, Miss Sylvia, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was wonderful. And the main thing that made it wonderful was getting a chance to be with family, my grandchildren, my great grands. And we even did a video, which you got,
Yes,
where my great granddaughter, 11 years old, interviewed each one of us. It was wonderful.
Oh, beautiful.
Nice. I can't wait to see it.
And you recorded that for posterity, yes?
I recorded it and I sent it to Tammi. I have to send it to you. 11 years old. She decided on her own. She wanted to interview everybody in the family. And she wanted to know, after all the food that you just ate, how do you feel?
Okay.
It was hilarious.
That is cute. After all the food you just ate, sleepy stuff like the turkey was, all that good stuff. Mr. Van Dorn, how was your Thanksgiving?
I had the good fortune of visiting my sister and her family in Fayetteville, and she has two children, so her daughter, husband, and child came up from Texas. So had a wonderful time. The grand niece is 3 years old, and 3-year olders can be quite entertaining. So we had a wonderful time. I had a wonderful visit. Yeah.
Nice.
How about yourself?
Mine was good. My birthday was the week before, so I kind of did. I hit my double nickel. I'm 55 now, and I kind of did my own little celebration the weekend before. So by the time Thanksgiving rolled around, I was a bum. I was on the couch, but I did go spend time with family. I did go spend a couple hours with family and came right back to the couch.
Oh, all right.
But it was nice. To which, speaking of birthdays, since we weren't here last week, and I hope audience, I hope you guys had an amazing Thanksgiving. But this week, I do want to say wish happy birthday to all born in the month of December. And also, I did, since we weren't here last week, didn't announce that we have crossed over into the zodiac sign of Sagittarius, so which is part of mine because my birthday is on the cusp. So I'm part Scorpio, part Sagittarius. So I hope you all are enjoying yourselves and enjoying being thankful, for the time that you have with your family and your loved ones, and even being joyful. Because I ministered this morning on a prayer call, and I said to them, I said, I know this time of year, a lot of people find themselves sad because of loved ones that are gone. But I suggested maybe this year, think of the memories, think of the good times, put yourself in a happy, high vibrational state. Remember that person and cherish the ones that you're here. Because sometimes people get kind of stuck that they don't acknowledge really the ones that are here because they're so sad because of the ones that are gone. Did that make sense?
Well, it makes perfect sense. The challenge that we have is that the concepts that many of us are identified with are actually cultural norms that are hazardous to our psychological, emotional, and spiritual health. As soon as you mention those who have gone before us, you didn't put it in those terms, I immediately thought about the fact that all of our ancestors are accessible to us. We just have to be open to having that connection. I could take a deep dive in on that subject, but we're going to leave that alone. I'll simply say that anytime you find yourself missing someone, you can connect with them in spirit. But there's a caveat, which is first you have to believe. So, and which really means to know that you can, right? So that's it. I mean, lots of people have this experience, and lots of people find themselves cut off from it because of their concepts that they're navigating with. And so tonight we're actually going to talk about concepts that we can navigate with, that we can adopt, that will assist us in moving to a higher level. We call it leveling up, and which is chapter 4 from this beautiful book that Sister Sylvia has us looking at tonight. So it's time for us to dive in. And before we got on, I'm speaking to the audience tonight. Before we got on tonight, I said, well, what exactly do we mean by level up? And I realized that the language that I'm familiar with, which is step up. So level up actually means to step up. In the people in my age bracket, we would say step up, not level up. But the new language is level up. So here we go. Hope I'm making sense. Yeah.
Well, no, and also I will share with the audience as well that before we started the live and we mentioned level up, I was just listening to this pastor that I listen to on a regular basis, and his topic just this Sunday was level up. So I just find this to be such an awesome confirmation to the talk that we're having tonight. However, I do want to do this though, because I want to hear what you got, because I know you guys gonna identify with this. I want to play this video real quick before we jump into the thought, because I really believe some good information is said in this video. So hold on, let me play this real quick, and then we will go ahead and jump into our conversation. Okay, as soon as this get out of my way. Okay,
here are the spiritual truths. You were born and you forgot who you are. You are not a body trying to have a spiritual experience. You are spirit, already infinite, already eternal, choosing to have a human experience. Right now, as you hear this, you are dreaming inside of spirit, dreaming that this life is real. This dream feels real because it's designed to feel real. Otherwise, you wouldn't play the life game. This is what people call the matrix, an immersive field of experience where you forget your power so that you can remember it again. And before you came here, you chose everything. You chose your parents, you chose your siblings, you chose the people who will love you, betray you, teach you, break your heart, and activate you. You chose them because you wanted the mirror. You wanted the lessons, the catalysts, the opportunities to expand and evolve. And to believe that you didn't choose this is to forget your sovereignty and your power. To forget your sovereignty and your power is to forget that you are God. And everyone is God, individuated, experiencing itself. That is what sovereignty truly is. The knowing that you are a creator, not a victim. And you've been lied to by religion. You've been told that you're small, powerless, a sinner, dependent on an external savior. But that's not the truth. That's control. True spirituality is remembering that you are already connected, already divine. And yes, the beings that we call aliens are real. Ancient start races like the Anunnaki infused their DNA into early humans. Without that infusion, we will not be the Homo sapiens that you see today. We will still resemble what you call the Sasquatch or Bigfoot. This is a spiritual truth that religion and government have hidden from you, because to know it will break their hold on your consciousness. Now we're in the age of Aquarius, Pluto and Aquarius, new frequencies hitting the planet, a collective shift. The veils are thinning. It's becoming harder and harder to stay asleep. The old world is already collapsing. The old narratives, religion, the government, societal, all are being exposed. The GOV has lied about aliens. They know they tried to shoot them down. They've been caught on video doing so. Religion and GOV are two arms of the same beast, control. This is why you see politicians using religion as a tool, because it works on those who never question, who follow blindly. They weaponize Christianity and other faiths to manipulate the masses. This isn't about the orange man or any one man. It's about a system built to keep you asleep, afraid, and obedient. But what they don't know is that the truth is breaking through. We're aligning with new earth frequencies. We are remembering. The more we cling to the old world, the more painful the shift will feel. The more you surrender to truth, to sovereignty, and to the remembrance of who you are, the freer you'll become. You are God dreaming itself. You are spirit playing human. You are here to wake up, to remember to choose love and sovereignty over fear and control. That's the real spiritual truth. Here are the spiritual truths. You were born and you.
All right. Any comments, any thoughts on that?
It's as clear as a glass of water, and the question is, who's going to drink? Who's going to drink?
Yeah.
Period.
That was fantastic.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic because today I was, just before I came on, I was listening to Billy Carson. And Billy Carson was talking about the fact that we allow the servants, who are the government, to run our lives when we are the administrators and should be running everything. And it's their job, they're doing their job to keep us in emotional chaos and fear and all those things she mentioned. And I like the part where she talked about we need to operate in our sovereignty, because all the power there is within us. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Thank you very much.
You are so welcome. And I go ahead. No, okay, so I knew, that's why I wanted to play that with you, and I'm glad Mr. Van Dorn was here as well, because I knew you guys could relate to that. And it's two more things, because Mr. Van Dorn, you brought up something that I wanted to ask you about as well when you mentioned drinking water. On the interview that I recently saw you on, you talked about water. And what's interesting, I don't know, I'm sure don't want to make assumptions, but I know you guys are very spiritual, but you've heard of the 3-eye Atlas comet that's coming through here. Yes.
Yeah. Of course. Yes.
Okay. And one of the things that, for those who may be watching, Google the 3-eye Atlas. It's been out there since like July. It's passing through Earth. It's been through the sun. It's passing through Earth, and that new Earth frequency that the young lady was just talking about is some of the codes that are coming through. And there was talk about the water being affected. And so, Mr. Van Dorn, when I heard you on your interview talk about water, can you explain to these viewers a little bit about what you were saying about the water on that interview, because one of the things that I have heard, it is really important for us to drink a lot of water right now, in this shifting that's occurring as we're being awakened back to our divinity. Can you talk to that water that you mentioned before, please?
Well, it's difficult to not want to give an extensive commentary on water. I want to begin with this statement. Water is the transfer medium for consciousness, and consciousness is everything. So I'm going to break that down. If it were not for water, consciousness could not move. Consciousness would have no way of actually interacting with life in this dimension. In fact, there would be no life. We know this. So water is a grossly misunderstood phenomenon. It is everywhere. It is in space. It's everywhere. But consciousness moves through water by way of this beautiful dance through these spaces that water occupies. And when I say water is everywhere, you don't have to have molecules right up on one another or atoms right up on one another to constitute water. In other words, there's more than a gaseous state of water. Okay, we've been told that there are 4 states of water, but there's actually more states of water than that. And if you go listen to the telepathy tapes and listen to what Veda Austin has to say about water, you will hear more about what water is. But in short, you cannot have information traveling in space-time without water. That's why I say water is a transfer medium for consciousness. So whether it's a thought or a feeling, that's moving through space-time, and it's actually moving through water. And so nobody with their 2 eyes can see the water molecules suspended in the air, but they're there. And so that's a way of saying that water takes up more space in space than we generally think of. When most people think about water, they think about a volume that can be held in a container. But open space is a container of water. It's simply that the atoms are a greater distance from one another. But just because the atoms are at a greater distance from one another doesn't reduce how water performs and what it does in regards to consciousness moving through what I call space-time. So I'm sure that I said something else on the interview. It's impossible for me to repeat myself verbatim. But do you remember anything else that I said?
No, this is good. I just wanted a high level, because you're right. You probably wouldn't even have enough time to really do it the justice. No. But high level, people need to be made aware of the transference of water in the conscious field.
Yes. So Dr. Emoto did us a lot of justice, messages in water, and Dr. Hugh Lin did us a lot of justice in terms of what he brought from the, he studied under a shaman, a kahuna in Hawaii. He was a disbeliever in the beginning, but he had personal experience that made it impossible for him to ignore what he had experienced. So he became an emissary for Ho'oponopono. And now you have, there's a book called Zero Limits for those that don't know anything about Ho'oponopono. Joe Vitale wrote a book called Zero Limits. And it's a wonderful way of, I guess you might say, sharing the message of what Ho'oponopono is. And so what I have done is I've created something called the 7 statements. And so I can speak to my water or anyone's water, any place in space, time, anywhere on the timeline, if we want to think of time as moving in one direction or another. And so I apologize. Please forgive me. I love you. I appreciate you. I respect you. I thank you now. Those 7 statements have vibrational signatures that have an effect upon water. Just like all of our thoughts have vibrational signatures and have an effect upon water. So we're transmitting messages 24/7. Most people don't know how to take I guess you may say, greater responsibility for those messages. So many of us are operating with, I'll call it a truncated awareness of the effect that we're having in space-time. Now, I'm guilty, just like anybody else, of having emotional upset, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was taught that was natural. And so I don't beat myself up for having what I can conveniently call emotional upset. I take full responsibility for it. So I'm not trying to have an experience and pretend as though I didn't have it, or be in denial about how I felt in any moment. Something wants to be said to those of us who will own the role that we're playing in creation. And so this we're all first cause. That's a term that most people haven't heard, but first cause simply means that what we send out, it comes back to us. So I like to say God's boomerang works like the charm that it was designed to be. And so, I mean, I think that's self-explanatory. So we're sending vibrations out all of the time, but the vibrations come back to us. So the idea is manifest beautiful thoughts and see what happens, because we do get the results of what we send out. And that's all happening. That's all happening in water. Okay. All of it's happening in water. The water that you can't see in space is still there. Okay. So, yeah.
Wow. No, that was
Is
powerful.
that what they call the quantum field?
Yes.
Is that okay?
The water is part of the quantum field.
Yes, absolutely.
So I just listened to a whole talk today I'm loving these synchronicities with Dr. Joe Dispenza. Yes. Him and Lewis Howell were having a conversation today on how to access the quantum field. Yes. And along those lines of what you were talking about. Wow. Yeah. Love it. Yeah. And I want to acknowledge corporate T. If you're talking about the spelling of Dr. Hugh Lin, it's Hulin.
No, Hew.
Hew. Okay,
yes,
Hewlin.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I looked him up because for real quick, for those who don't know the story with Dr. Hugh Lin, he healed mentally ill patients using the Ho'oponopono prayer. In a psych ward. And these were patients that had to be heavily sedated. They had to be strapped down. And he couldn't do it with them. So he changed the way he looked at it. And he used the Ho'oponopono. But there's more. But go look that up. He said, I'm sorry, Corp T said Amato or something. I guess Dr. Amato or
Emoto, Dr. Emoto.
How is that spelled?
Emoto. Yes, Emoto. If you just look up Dr. Emoto, he wrote a book called Messages in Water. Okay. And Veda Austin, VEDAAUSTIN, has taken his work to the next level. Okay. Yeah.
Love it.
And she's here now. When I say she's here now, she's in the world doing her thing, and she's bringing a lot of amazing information forward. And for those that don't know, the non-speaking autists actually are awake. And they are highly evolved souls who are here to serve humankind in ways that most people don't know. So there are a lot of these non-speaking artists that actually have figured out a way to communicate through the written word and through typing. And so not all of them, but they have people who can actually communicate with them telepathically and who will convey their thoughts. And
are those like ghost writers that people do the ghost writing?
Well, we wouldn't call it ghost writing. They're simply writing what the artists are telepathically conveying to them.
Right.
Yes. And so what happens is there are a bunch of autists, and I use the word artist because that's the term that they use, not autistics, but they call themselves the artists, AUTISTS. And they actually convene meetings in a higher dimension and come back to this dimension and settle back into their physical bodies. But in the other dimensions, they are actually free to talk and communicate with one another. It's amazing. Yeah. So this is news, and this is the kind of news that wants to be shared worldwide. And I don't like to say because, but we need for the people who have been conditioned to think that a person that looks like an invalid is invalid. We need to change that, because there are a lot of people that look like invalids when they actually have clear minds. They simply can't use their physical bodies to communicate the way we so-called normal people communicate.
And you know what? I forgot it. Because I was listening to a message through this guy Elliot Eli Jackson a while back, where he channels source energy, and he said some of the autistic kids are actually no, people that have been diagnosed with schizophrenia. They're actually star children.
Yes.
They're light workers.
Yes.
But they've been misdiagnosed based on this cultural standard. So
There you go. Right.
Wow. Oh, whew, I knew this was gonna be a good talk. All right, y'all take the wheel. Who's gonna drive?
Well,
I would like to talk about the fact, that video where she said we choose our parents. Because I'm sure quite a few of us don't really understand that concept, that we choose our parents.
Well, the challenge is that very few people have access to an awareness of themselves as soul. So most people think that they are a personality in a physical body, but we're not a personality in a physical body. Our personality and our physical body are instruments that are used by soul to interface with others in this dimension. And it's very simple. The physical body and the personality are tools or instruments used by soul to communicate in this dimension. So we have to turn this thing around.
And even to your point, Abuela, actually somebody put on her comment, they said, I was with you until you said we choose our parents. And I actually chimed in and I said, well, she's right. And what people don't know is we did choose our parents before we came here. It's to experience, and even if we had like a bad childhood or whatever, it's part of karma, it's part of contrast, it's a part of the growth and expansion. But again, those are not things that we're taught in this culture.
Yes. If you ask 100 people what is a soul contract, you'd be lucky to get an answer from just one of those people. Okay.
Right.
In other words, 1% of the people on the planet, maybe more, have an idea of what a soul contract is. So the miseducation of the masses is what has we all understand. It's the mechanism that is used for control, but we are here to drop the shackles that are conveniently conveniently believed in, if I may use that term, right? Mm-hmm. So once again, it's time for us to shift and level up. Yeah. So I'm excited about us exploring some of these statements from chapter 4 on level up.
And it ain't even conveniently believed in. It really kind of is stuff that has been programmed into them.
The program, yes, right. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. It's been programmed. Okay, Miss Sylvia.
I'm not rushing, because I don't think anything is coincidental in terms of rushing into what I had planned for tonight, and you presenting that video. Another thing that she mentioned, which is a part of what I was going to say in my introduction, she said that we are the gods. We are all powerful. And that was one of the things I was going to bring up, that scripture, Psalms 82:6 in small g, that says we are the gods and the goddesses, and all power is within us. And here we are allowing the servants, which they call government, to run we're the administrators to run our business. That's crazy. And I realize that it is deliberate, but it's an eye opener. I appreciate that video. I'm glad you didn't tell me anything about it too.
I told you, you were asking, you like, what's this about? Nope. I want to pop it on you. Yeah, I knew you would find it very fascinating.
Yeah.
Now, another thing, she mentioned the Anunnaki. And I know we always hear the Anu, ANU. And she quickly ran through the fact of how they interfered with our genes. Did you hear that part? Yeah. And that's an interesting thing for, later on for us, those of us listening, check out the Anunnaki. That concept.
Go ahead, Mr. Van Dorn. I see you.
I'm not sure that I have the story the way everyone else has the story, but it is my understanding that their presence is part of an experiment, and we are this experiment. Okay, we are their experiment, if I may, and so they modified our DNA to make us more like them, and so what we were as a collective before this modification is that's history, and that's goes way back in time. I like to think of the Anunnaki as sort of like overlords in a manner of speaking, and I'm not saying that I'm holding them as esteemed. How do I say this? Esteemed visitors or gods even, but what the effect that they've had on humankind is, as far as I know, an upgrade. Okay. And so, but there are many stories. There are different stories about who the Anunnaki are and what their purpose is, et cetera, et cetera. So not everybody's operating with the same story. My take is that the experiments that have been conducted on what we would call hominoids is in essence an upgrade. Okay, so, but some people would argue against that, and I'm okay with that because I'm not expecting everybody to be walking with the same story, or to be in agreement for that matter. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and for real quick, going back to, he mentioned soul contract. If anybody don't know what a soul contract, please get curiosity. Miss Sylvia is always talking about critical thinking. Look it up. Look up soul contract. Do some research, because you'll be surprised but it's like the Matrix, the blue or the red pill. It's if you're really ready to expand your consciousness and be made aware of some truths. So, but he is right. Like, people don't know what it is. Now, people know of the term soulmate, but there is a difference. There is a difference. All right, Miss Sylvia.
I think a part of the lesson, the discussion tonight, having to know the difference between what is the soul versus what is the spirit. And then you can connect soul contract, I think, a little better. I don't know. But let me find, I want to give the audience, this is the book that we'll be speaking from. I don't know whether it's upside down or not.
It's upright. That's right.
The Sacred Book of the Chosen Ones by Bridell Rice Bay. You can get it. You can get it on Amazon. And this young man is on YouTube, and he called his website is Bedell, Bedell 1014. Now, I call him Bedell. Bedell is so highly intelligent. When I saw that he had written this book, I said, oh, I'm not going to be able to understand anything that guy is talking about. Fortunately, it's very simple to understand. I was like so happy that he's so diversified that he can write something simple enough for a person like me to understand. So you can get it. You can get it on Amazon. And I got the book just to support him. And when I say young, I don't believe he's in his 30s. And it shows me the age is nothing but a number. Yeah.
Let me flash this on. Can you all read that? Is that easy to read?
Yeah.
Not for me on this camera, but maybe they can see your camera better than I can.
Okay, right there.
I'm gonna read them.
That's for everybody in the audience. That's the name of the book.
Okay. The Sacred Book of the Chosen by Bridell Rice Bay. And tonight we're going to discuss chapter 4, The Level Up.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
All right.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just read some excerpts from that chapter. If anybody in the chat wants to comment, or, Tammi, Van, comment, just stop me as I go along, but I'm just going to read them if it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the beginning. Remember, every test is proof you're on the right path. Because all through life, we're being tested. And I know some of the tests for me and some others, it might seem like, oh, very difficult. But he's saying that know that you're on the right path. And like I said, chime in at any time. Challenges are announcement that you are near the gate of the higher plane. A lot of us don't like the challenges we face in life, but it shows that you are near the gate of the higher plane. No challenge, no growth and development. The more pressure we face, the closer we are to the breakthrough. And that's encouraging. The more pressure we face, the closer we are to the breakthrough. When we pass through the pressure, we see that the demons were not real. The war is with the parts of ourselves that think we cannot win. Okay.
Go ahead, jump in, Mr. Van Doren.
No, well, one way to make that ingestible and digestible is the war is with the parts of ourselves that think we cannot win, which means parts of our psyche, the concepts that we walk with, and so we're either going to win the war or lose the war, depending upon the concepts that we choose to remain identified with, or the concepts that we choose to let go of and walk away from or rise above. So yes, this is just trying to add a little bit of dimension to that statement. Yes.
And the author says, level up anyway. Yeah. The test is temporary. The crown is eternal. And a key note here is, in order to level up, we must connect with the 4 elements of the soul. And when I say we, I'm speaking, the author is saying this. In order to level up, we must connect with the 4 elements of the soul. And he gives us the 4 elements of the soul. 1, thinking. 2, reasoning, 3, understanding, and 4, willpower. Those are what Bedell calls the 4 elements of the soul.
Okay, so repeat them again. Thinking, willpower.
Okay, let me go again.
Thinking,
Thinking, reasoning, understanding, willpower.
And so one of the things you're always constantly harping on is the importance of thinking and critical thinking, as a matter of fact, which involves asking questions. And if you can see, we really are in a society that really don't really want you to ask a lot of questions, like those spiritual truths that we were just that we were talking about. If you're not given permission to like really question as like kids, because I hear a lot of kids, a lot of adults say as kids, some of these things that were being taught to me in my particular religion didn't make sense to me, but we were told not to question. We were told not to, think about these things. Care to comment on what I just said? Because I feel that's where a lot of the distractions in this world are present, because they don't want us to think, they don't want us to understand, don't want us to question, because that the more they keep us distracted, the more we're giving our power, or people are giving their power to them. Any comments on that?
well, people who are ready to claim their sovereignty, they know better than to be in agreement with these mandates that are given, like don't ask questions, et cetera, et cetera. And so these conditions, when we meet these conditions with a certain kind of courage and a certain kind of autonomy, that's when we can say that we're moving into owning our power. And so we all have a choice 24/7. Either I'm going to be awake in the matrix, or I'm going to be asleep in the matrix. And those who choose to be asleep, try to enjoy the ride. I doubt that you will. Those who choose to be awake, well, yes, you have some muscle to develop, some spiritual muscle to develop. So that means that you're going to be pushing against what appear to be limits and limitations. But that's for the purpose of developing spiritual muscle. So, reasoning is thinking, reasoning, understanding, and willpower. When we are in a state of reasoning, that means that we're in a state of observation and I guess you may say observation of data, so that we can make the right choice, the right choice for us, not the right choice for anyone but us. And understanding is equivalent to the word comprehension. So to have comprehension of what we're experiencing is absolutely central to freedom, or waking up, once again, in the matrix, waking up in the dream. Yeah, we've alluded to this being a dream. It is. It's that and that alone. And so when we realize that we're dreaming, we can wake up in the dream, and then we can claim the power that we were giving away by not realizing that we are in a dream. The dream is fluid. Everything is malleable. And some people know that you can actually change the past by changing what you do in the present moment. That's not believed by most people, but all of us are having an effect upon what's happening on the timeline. But that's a discussion for another day. Let's keep moving.
Yeah, because that's a deep one, because you gonna really mess people up. You gonna lose everybody at that point. They're like, what do you mean? But okay, Miss Sylvia Abuela.
He was talking about this is a dream world.
Yes.
This is a dream world.
Yes.
When that really rings like top notch with me, because If I get into a negative situation, somebody does something I think I don't like, or it's some kind of chaos, when I remember, this is just a dream, this is not even real. Why are you investing yourself? And I can feel when I get involved in the dream and it's a negative dream, I can feel the vibration, the frequency going down. You know, if you get into something negative, a negative conversation or whatever, arguments, and you invest yourself in that part of the dream, you take your frequency down, and I can actually feel it when it goes down. But it's good to know, yeah, it's just a dream. Let it go.
Well, just
No
even
big
the
deal.
fact that you know, of course, I'm trying to say this the right way. You've been around long enough to know and identify that, but some people haven't identified that, there are low vibrational energies out there. There are energy vampires out there that will try to pull you and keep you into that space. So it is up to you to really identify. As a matter of fact, I'm so conscious now. Like when I see stuff, I'll be like, okay, so that's low vibrational energy. Nope, not playing there. I mean, I have to have these conversations with myself because it is all around us. But what did you say they are, Miss Sylvia? You said not NPCs, non-participating characters. Isn't that what you told me they called?
Yeah.
I'll be listening. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm just reading through the script here. Without these four elements, we disconnect from the source and thus disconnect from the source, which creates stability and irresolution. Okay. What is the soul? A multi-layered engine of divine mechanism designed to move us from the bondage of the matrix to the liberation in the higher planes. Now, let me repeat that, but I would have to have it in a more simplified form. I'll repeat that. What is the soul? A multi-layered engine of divine mechanism designed to move us from the bondage of the matrix to liberation in the higher planes.
May I translate that?
Please.
Okay. A soul is a unit of awareness that is operating a mind, the body, including the emotions and what have you. And so when soul can get enough of a signal through to the pedestrian self, the personality self, that's when, poetically and metaphorically speaking, the lights come on in one's awareness. One has aha moments saying, well, I am. Okay. And so when that light comes on, that's simply a signal or a sign that soul has been able to push enough juice through the wires of one's mind and one's body to where one at the pedestrian level says, okay, so I am an autonomous being. I do have, I am first cause. I have direct link to source because, and this is a dialogue that takes place between the higher self, soul, and the pedestrian self. And I say that because a lot of people are trapped in the pedestrian self simply because they've been living in lockdown. So not everybody's living in lockdown. There are people on the show tonight that are not living in lockdown, and there's some that might be, but they're here for one reason. They have a desire to assist others in waking up or waking up themselves so that they can then turn around and assist people who are living in lockdown to wake up. Because the greatest joy in life is to be able to shine some light on somebody else's path. And so that old Negro spiritual, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Mm-hmm. That simply means I am choosing as a human being to let the light of the creative, the creator shine through me to illuminate the paths of others. At least that's my interpretation of those words. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. So anyway, I don't want to get off track. We have some more statements here that I would like for us to read, and I really want us to get through some of these beautiful comments.
Okay, and let me say this before you jump back in. Somebody, Corp T put it in the chat. Some people don't realize that they are energy vampires, and that is true. A sleep person isn't going to identify themselves as such.
One's life conditioning determines whether one is an energy vampire or a messenger of love. There's really, I don't think there's anything but energy vampirism and somebody being a messenger of love. I don't really think that there's anything in between. In other words, you're either going to be letting the light use you to shine itself on someone's path towards the ends of freedom, personal freedom, or you're going to be trying to take from that person or steal their light. That's another way of talking about it. So, energy vampires just haven't realized where their light is. And their light is with source. And to actually become a vehicle for this expression, the expression of source, which is another word for essence, that's one of the highest attainments that can be experienced by a human being. To become a vessel, a vessel for love, that's another way of talking about it. A messenger of love, that's another way of talking about it. And one doesn't have to do anything but just be. You don't have to do anything special to be a messenger of love. You just let it flow, right? And it guides us. We get to surrender and say yes to allowing this power to flow through us and touch other people's lives.
Amen. All right, Miss Sylvia.
Okay. The 4 elements of the soul keep our temples from collapsing. Okay. The 4 elements are portals and living gateways that, when activated, synchronize the human vessel with the God frequency.
Yes.
Okay.
Like that.
The mind of the chosen is forged by fire, tempered by struggle, purified by fasting from distractions. And on my notes, I put distractions in red. For instance, distractions, the media, those dumb phones, smartphones, entertainment, gaming, the news, the weather report, etc. Those are major distractions that the government keeps going to keep you from involving yourselves in the 4 elements. So people think, some of us think, that those smartphones are just phones, but those phones have nanobots in them. And these nanobots are for the purpose of causing the phone to become an addiction, because we know it's not normal to see everybody in the known world doing this. That is not normal. So I had to just do some research. And then when I found out that the nanobots are in those phones, you need to beware. And because of my age, I know I don't need a phone. When I was coming up, we didn't need a phone. We didn't need a GPS. We knew how to get everywhere. I have a friend, she's 87. She's a staunch Aggie. She goes to every basketball game, every football game, doesn't have a GPS. Different cities and all of that. She does not have a smartphone. She does not have a GPS. And I said to her, I'm sure she doesn't mind me calling her. I said, Jita, do you go to all those different cities and you don't even have a map? How do you do it? She said, we never did that before. I'm used to it. She's about 87. Mm-hmm. She doesn't
Wow.
use any of those.
Wow. Hold on, Miss Sylvia, before you jump back in. The second thing that you said, you glitched. So I don't think you came through clear. I think it was struggle or something. What was the second thing on that list that you just said?
I said the mind of the chosen is forged by fire, tempered by struggle.
Okay, that was it.
And pure.
Okay, that was it. Tempered by struggle. Okay. All right. You can carry on.
The key inception of leveling up is self-realization and recognizing your trauma. A lot of us don't even realize we traumatized. Okay.
Hold on.
So
I can't let you go. I cannot let you go. Miss Sylvia, Mr. Van Dorn, just this morning on the call that I ministered and prayed on, I told them people have trauma that they haven't processed, and it's embedded. It could have happened, but people like subliminally block it out. But it's underneath and it needs to be dealt with. Even going back to what you said earlier, Mr. Van Dorn, about how you feel about some things, you got to get it out. You have to. People for far too long have been taught not to feel. They have been taught not to feel, to act like everything is okay when it's not okay. And it's not saying that you're going to sit in the energy of not being okay. But what you have to do is you got to feel your disappointment. You have to feel your frustration. And you have to be able to process how you're feeling and release it. Let it move through your body so that you can go ahead and move on and let it go. In other words, I like to say, give that pain a voice. Mr. Van Dorn, we lost Miss Sylvia for a minute, but anything that you would care to comment on what I just said?
Well, processing trauma, processing terror, processing bad feelings, it's absolutely essential to letting go of those experiences. When I say letting go of the effect that they had, and choosing a new and different response. And so, what we talked about, one of the four elements of the soul, reasoning is the second one. Well, when we can reason with ourselves, in other words, when higher self is able to reason with the pedestrian self and say, you can look at this thing differently. You can look at this experience differently. And by looking at it differently, you will have a different experience. It's like you're claiming a different experience just by identifying with the experience in a different way. And that's, we're talking about cleansing and clearing. Okay. And this is absolutely central to move forward, to be able to cleanse and clear the things that are embedded in our subconscious minds. So we have to access that material and basically neutralize the effect that it had by accepting it as a learning experience, not as the end of the world. So lots of people will say, well, my trauma is too big to accept.
You got to,
though. There are methods that can be used to help transform one's experience, but it's big work, to be able to say, okay, I'm not terrified, I'm not angry anymore. That really is big work, and it isn't as easy for some as it is for others.
This is true. And then let me also add to that. And I've heard on multiple sources that trauma has been linked to illnesses in the body. Like, yes. Even a couple weeks ago when we had the lady talking about how when she was dealing with breast cancer, it wasn't her breast cancer treatment that really healed her. It was dealing with the trauma when she was molested when she was 4 years old and repeatedly molested through her up into her teenage years. That's where her true healing came from. And she's not the only person that I have heard that. So it's important to start identifying the trauma because it has an effect on your body, one's body, whether they know it or not. I saw you raise your hand.
The unprocessed feelings basically materialize as health conditions. Okay. So wherever one has unprocessed feelings, if it's unforgiveness or there's judgment against another, Louise Hay covers all of this material. And there's a man, I think his name is Frederick Lincoln, who wrote this definitive text talking about everything that you can imagine that goes wrong, if I may use the words, illnesses, I'll put it that way. Every illness that you can imagine, he connects a thought and a feeling to that. So if we can transform those thoughts and feelings about our experiences, the conditions are subject to disappear. Now, this is this is ancient medicine, but it's also the medicine of the future. So, you know, there's a lot of room for growth, and there are a lot of people out here doing this work. Of course, somebody mentioned Joe Dispenza earlier. Joe Dispenza is helping people have a different experience, wake up in the dream, if I may use that term, and realize that they can have a different experience. But one has to think differently about the experience so that they can feel differently about the experience.
Yes.
So, and that's where the faculties of thinking and reasoning, understanding, which is the same thing as comprehension. So when we can reason our way through what we are thinking about, we can actually comprehend the deeper meaning, which is there's a lesson here to learn. And so what is the lesson? The lesson is, well, I don't have to be angry about something that happened to me. I don't have to hold on to the trauma. I can say, and this, you know, different people process this thing called forgiveness in different ways. But if we can forgive ourselves the interpretations that we had about an experience, that's a big step in the direction of freedom. Okay, when I say freedom, I'm talking about freedom from suffering. But all of this is part of the transformative vision of the dream that we're in. So people who are, if I may use the word, suggesting that these are possibilities, no one on this call is giving advice. We're simply speaking what we believe is possible. And so that's one of the things that a disclaimer that we all get to make, which is we're not giving anyone advice. We're just talking about what we believe is possible. And anyone that wants to believe it and make use of it, all well and good. People that don't want to believe it, have a good life, you know, that kind of thing. Right. So, yeah.
Let me ask this question real quick. It's in the chat, but actually, Corporate T, I need clarity. The question says, what does those methods of uncovering and addressing those traumas? But I'm not quite sure what's being asked. So I wanted to ask you to reword that so that we understand. Until the question comes back in, Mr. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Van Dorn.
Well, what happens is, first of all, we can do something called self-talk. And self-talk can look like this. Okay, I am afraid. Why am I afraid? Okay. And if we can actually raise the right question, we can get some clarity, because what's happening is at the pedestrian level, at the ego level, there's a lockdown. And soul is trying to get this message through. And there are all of these blocks and blockades that have been set up in the subconscious mind. And so the idea is to be able to turn the right key in the subconscious mind so that one can see exactly how one got into the predicament that they're in. And that has to do with being unaware of this thing called cause and effect dynamics. So all experiences that we have, we could say, were set up as learning experiences. And if we don't do anything else but adopt that notion tonight, that all of the experiences that I've had in life are learning experiences, then we can start asking the question, well, what was I supposed to learn from this experience? What was I supposed to learn from that experience? And if we didn't learn anything, we can say, I would like to learn something. I would like to turn this thing around, right? Right now, I would like to turn this thing around. I'd like to have a different experience. I would like to be fully comprehend what was the lesson in this experience. I had a beautiful experience earlier today. I was talking to a co-author. There's someone from the United States who's living in Africa. Her name is Dr. Enolia Foti. And so she's actually doing some wordsmithing, and we're going to co-publish a book between 3 authors. And I was working on the sculpture project, and I was making a statement about some of the experiences that I've had with Cancerian males, because I was in this situation where I'm saying, well, okay, it doesn't look like this person who I was expecting to be able to steer me in the right direction right out the gate didn't look like they were steering me in the right direction. So I'm spending a lot of time in this process of getting this work done on the sculpture, when my ego and my personality is saying, well, why is it that I had to have this detour or this extra work? How is it that this person who knows more than I know about this process of making sculptures, how is it that I find myself feeling unhappy about how much extra time is taking, how much extra work this is taking, because it's physically demanding work, okay? So I realized after the call with Enolia Foti that I have to put myself in check and ask the question, what is it about me that chose to believe somebody else's story about how to proceed? How is it that I chose not to listen to my higher self, okay, and the inner knowing, if that makes any sense? So I'm calling myself out after the telephone call with Dr. Enolia Foti. I'm calling myself out saying, wait a minute, it's not about somebody outside of me. It's about me. I chose to not trust myself enough to know that whatever I was being told was the way to do this thing wasn't the way to do it, okay? But once again, I'm surrendering my ego, my personality to someone who is my senior, not just in years, but also in experience. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I can't hold this person accountable for anything. I'm holding myself accountable. And when anyone chooses to hold themselves accountable, that's when one gains true power and wakes up in the matrix and realizes that no one makes us do anything. I could talk about some extremes here, but everybody knows that we always have a choice. Every moment is a choice point. We either surrender to the bully or the psychopath or the petty tyrant, or we own our power. And so the moment we own our power, that psychopath, that bully, and that petty tyrant, they are disempowered because we chose to stand in autonomy. It takes a lot of courage. And so what are we doing here in the world? We're remembering that we have the right to be courageous, and we have the responsibility to be courageous, and we have the responsibility and the right to say, I won't take this. Okay, so this is a dance that we're all doing together, and we're all assisting one another. So when you say no to the bully, no to the psychopath, no to the petty tyrant, you're doing them a favor. You're not just doing yourself a favor, but you're doing them a favor. Okay.
Nice. And the Corp T said you got it. So you answered the question. So thank you for that. All right, Miss Sylvia.
So that to piggyback on that, we have given our power over to government, to the servants, government officials and all of that. They're just servants. And if we as the collective would own our power and just say no none of these things that we see happening would continue to happen, like weather manipulation, bots in the food, nanobots in the food, and different things. If we as a collective would accept the fact that we are the powerful, they couldn't do any of these things. But the public food system was designed to keep us keep us like we are. We tend to be. Just follow the directions we give you. Don't think, don't reason, don't even try to understand, don't use your willpower. Do exactly what we tell you. Okay. The process for leveling up is manifested through silence or solitude, which creates tunnel vision to meet our higher self. Okay.
Yeah. To bring higher self online. That's another way of saying that, right? Yeah. Activate higher self so that we can have a different experience. Yes.
Well,
Yes.
I'm always talking about meditation and nature and stuff like that. So, yeah.
What I tell people that the statement that's in one of the Psalms, "Be still and know that I am God," that one line means more to me than anything else that's in that book. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And I want to explain. The word "know" means to become one with. Okay, that's what the word "know" means, to become one with. So be still and become one with the higher self, what you can say the Almighty. I like to use the word the all that is. So when one says, "I am," and stops imagining that there's a power outside oneself, that's when things turn around. One does an about face in life and says, okay, well, I'm no longer walking down this road or this dimly lit hallway. I'm turning in the opposite direction, and I'm going to let the light shine through me, illuminate my path, and then illuminate other people's paths. Poetry, there's a lot of power to poetry, and we have to use poetry and metaphor to communicate. So that's what we're doing. Everything that we see in these notes in this book is metaphor and poetry. Okay, so the key inception of leveling up is self-realization and recognizing your trauma. Well, what is self-realization? Remembering that one is soul, not the pedestrian mind, which has a tendency to accept limitations. Soul, when one awakens to oneself as soul, one says, okay, no more limits. I'm through with the limitations. And so I'm ready to dance and sing in life and have a different experience. And that's when life becomes a joy as opposed to a burden. Right.
Wow. So, two things. I have a question in the chat that I'm going to read, but you mentioned the I am. People got to really understand how powerful those two words are, because people use them to identify themselves in either a positive or a negative way. Like, if you're saying I am I'm blessed, I'm abundant, things like that. But then sometimes people say I am depressed, I'm sad, I'm this, I'm that. But in actuality, one should be saying I feel sad, I feel depressed, because that is a feeling that you get to feel. Again, what I said earlier, feel and release. But you don't want to identify with that state. Any comment on that before I read this question?
I am free. I am soul. Just those three words. I am soul.
Yes. I have an affirmation that I quote before I go to bed or when I wake up in the morning. I am that I am, and that is enough. And I quote that 3 times. I got that from Bashar. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with Bashar, Daryl Anka, but I got that from him. But the question, so constantly being around a lot of people, and can that stop you from leveling up?
Being around a lot of people, remember that old phrase, choose your company wisely? Well, that's a responsibility that each one of us have, which means that we have the ability to choose people who are going to further our cause in this dance to liberation, or help keep us asleep in the matrix. So once again, we're back to the red pill or the blue pill. Choose people who have their hands on a pocket full of red pills. Choose them as company, right? Yeah, and lead the ones holding the blue pills. Run from them. That's my word. Yeah. So run as fast as you can. Yeah.
Well, okay. So what they just said, the book says solitude is part of leveling up, but everyone has to spend time alone. You do. It's part of the process, but it's not solitude per se all the time. I'll let you guys answer, because I know where I'm about to go, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What you say, Miss Sylvia? I think she's freezing up again.
She's freezing up. Yes.
Yeah. But no, you still, that, as that Mr. Van Doren said, be still and know that I'm God. If you're constantly surrounded by people, you'll never find that space to really hear from God. So you have to take that time alone. I don't care if it's 10, 15 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day. You still need to spend some time in solitude, is what I'm gathering from that. But I will allow you to elaborate.
Oh gosh. All right. Well, Miss Sylvia just dropped out. I think she's gonna, come back. The idea of spending time in silence is to be able to commune with what I call higher self, what some people use the term God. And so establishing a link between the pedestrian self, the ego, the personality, and higher self is absolutely essential. It is our ticket to freedom. And when I say freedom, I'm actually going to be playful here. Freed Om. The word Om is another word for spirit. And so I like to make reference to these two words instead of one word. Freedom is a word that I've been advised by a dear friend to change the meaning from freedom to freed Om. So we're freeing Om in our psyche so that we can live a more fluid, more spontaneous, joyful existence, as opposed to being trapped in old thought forms and old concepts that are no longer serving us in terms of our walk into liberation, into spiritual liberation.
Nice. Okay. And they were adding not all the time, but times of looking to level up. So I would almost say you probably do need to spend some time in solitude to level up. Because even think about it, in the book of Revelation, John was on the island of Patmos. He had to spend time alone to do the work that he did. Think about Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. He left his disciples to go be by himself with God. So I do feel that there are times when you are looking to fulfill your purpose, your journey. You do have to spend time in solitude to do it, because you got to think people are not even on that same frequency, or they're causing a lot of distractions, a lot of noises, and you won't make the connection properly. But that's my thought. I'll let you guys comment.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, I wanted to speak on the point of silence. If you don't get silent, you can't hear your inner God speaking. So if you're always in noise and all of that kind of stuff, you can't hear. Some people call it your intuition. And the other thing, if you're on a job where everybody's negative, or you're in an organization where people are negative, before you leave your home in the morning, you have to I do an exercise, gratitude. Whatever exercise that you have to do to raise your frequency before you leave your home. So you leave with a high vibration. So when you walk into a negative environment, your frequency changes that low vibration. You have to determine the frequency in the room.
Nice. And then that requires you at times to be in solitude so that you can do that the right way. All right, Miss
The
Sylvia.
the main thing is knowing or having exercises that you do to keep your frequency high. And one of them is to wake up and say, I'm so grateful I can see. I'm so grateful I can smell, I can hear. I'm grateful for the things that's an exercise. You just keep being in gratitude. That's one way. Keep your frequency high.
I also learned another good way too is to hug yourself. You know, you hugging yourself, especially you had a difficult moment or something. You affirming, giving yourself affirmations, and you even letting yourself know that you're okay and you're going to be safe. And that also kind of like releases a lot of tension in your body as well. There's a lot of little tools out there, but go ahead, Miss. Go ahead, Abuela.
Yeah, you better have some tools if you're on these jobs
Please, you better have tools
24/7.
walking out the house in traffic. You got to think people. I had a lady. She came to a stop sign yesterday with her chicken wing in her hand, and she was coming up so fast. So I stopped, and thinking that maybe she gonna stop and let me cross because pedestrians had the right of way. Please, that girl hit that. She came to that stop sign and just kept right on going. So had I walked out there, I could have potentially been it. So you got to have that just to even go outside. And let's see,
Well,
corp say, look into the mirror and say positive things. Yes, that's a tool too. Look in the mirror and say positive things to yourself. Yes, affirm yourself. This is some good stuff. All right, Abuela, I know you got some more on that list. Give it to us.
no, I think we've done quite a bit,
Okay.
and I think that's it. And another thing, if you're on that job and there's a lot of negative, go in the restroom and build yourself up, and then come back out.
Mm-hmm.
You
There's so
And I'm
there's so yeah, yeah. There's so many affirmations that we can use, just to say, I am here to let the light shine through me. So wherever I go, the light is guiding me, and it's going to touch other people's lives. That's a very, very powerful affirmation. We can think it, we can feel it, and it has an effect upon the environment. We are one of the most important things for us as a takeaway tonight is to have comprehension of the fact that we are all co-creators. And so when we take that position that I am a co-creator versus an experiencer that is a victim, that co-creator, that position of I am a co-creator is a statement of empowerment, self-empowerment. And once again, that has its own frequency, and it has an effect upon the environment. So it's like turning on a light inside one's awareness and say, okay, well, where does this light want to shine? It wants to shine wherever it wants to shine. It's none of my business where it shines, right? So it is not my job to direct the light that's shining through me. My job is to let the light shine through me. Okay, and so that's another way of saying I don't go out and try to tell conditions what to be and how to be, but simply by letting this light shine through me, which is another way of saying let love flow through me. It gets to go where it's needed, where it lands where it wants to land, and that doesn't have to be any of my business. Okay. And I don't know if some people will understand this. It's like we're not here to direct the show. We're here to witness the show and to recognize the role that we're playing is like emissary of light, or like a messenger of light, or a messenger of love. But once again, we don't have to think of ourselves as directors. We can simply think of ourselves as a conduit. The key word would be conduit. Yes.
You mentioned co-creator, but you see, here's the problem with that. A lot of people don't even know that they're creators. That's almost just like the soul contract that you mentioned. People don't know about soul contracts. They don't know that they're creators because that's not what they've been taught.
Well, the subject tonight was level up. I'm going to say that actually means power up. Okay. So level up is another way of saying power up. And what does it mean to power up? It means to acknowledge that we have the power. We are the power, and that's not ego talking. I'm asking us to be sure to bypass ego. When I say we are the power, that simply means that we have the ability to let love flow through us and touch life where it wants to, when it wants to, how it wants to. We're not directing this thing. We were participants, and we're willing participants. So that means that we're surrendering our will to the greater good, whatever the greater good wants to be. That's how to approach every moment. How may I serve the greater good? How may I serve the greater good? How may I serve the greater good? How about that? How about asking that question? How may I serve the greater good?
Yes. And as you spoke, the thought came to me, know thyself is to know God. Because a lot of people don't really understand, are not familiar with that quote. When that was a quote in The Matrix as well. I'm telling you, that's like my all-time favorite movie. But that quote was in that know thyself. And then eventually I found out later that to complete that is the beginning of knowing God or something like that. But to know thyself is to know God, because ultimately God is in all. Period. Yeah. And that's where a lot of people don't realize that even as God is in all, God is creating and living life through each and every one of us. Because, a lot of separation comes about when, like if you don't believe in this thing, you going to hell, or if you do this and you do that. But the truth of the matter is we are all God. God is in all. God is the very air that we breathe. You breathe in the air, the breath of God every time you take in a breath. So God is in you. Now, here's the thing. Is he operating in low vibration or high vibration? And that's another choice, that word that you mentioned earlier. That's a choice that we need to make. Like, if God is experiencing life through my eyes, through my lens, through my soul, how do I want him to experience it? And that's when everything that you kept going back to, the love, the compassion, I'm going to add the kindness, and you mentioned servitude, and to love on each other, and to just do humanity service. Any comments?
Well, one of the most beautiful things that I think anyone could say when they wake up in the morning: how may I serve life today? How do I contribute to life in a way that it ends up being a feel good for somebody? Okay. So that's back to service, back to giving of oneself. Yeah.
I love it. Abuela, anything?
I'm finished.
You finish. Okay, well then we are gonna go ahead and start bringing this home. I knew this was gonna be a good one. When you sent it to me, I just knew this was gonna be a good talk, because when you talk spirituality, you are all in my lane. And so I just thank you guys. Mr. Van Dorn, I thank you for being able to come in the clutch and jump in here. I just have much love and gratitude for you. But as I round robin this out and bring this to a close, Abuela, any final words that you may have for the people tonight?
I would just say, remember the things that we learned here tonight, to walk in your God self, uh, walk in a spirit of gratitude, keep your frequency high, and to remember to let your light shine.
Yes, yes, yes. And even as you were saying all that, those who listen to music, Sierra has a song called Level Up, and that song will hype you up. That hypes your frequency up too. So, go ahead and put that in your ear and level up listening to that, because the words that she say in that song is even powerful, because it won't even get into it. But thank you, Miss Sylvia. Very much love and gratitude. Very good topic tonight, as always. You look, you knocked it out the park. Thank you, Mr. Van Dorn. Any final words for the people, and also tell the people how they can contact you if they need to. Miss Sylvia, you said you was gonna ask him something about sacred geometry. You have a quick minute if you still want to ask that question, or you don't want to ask it now.
I was going to, this is a long story. He did a presentation, I think it was last week, and he was explaining sacred geometry. And that was my first time ever being able to really understand what this means. And I don't want to, this is a piece of his beautiful work that you can get on Estes, but it's very powerful. But
let me see.
we have to get him on to talk.
Let me see if I can find reference to that. Let's see now. I'm trying to figure out where. Yeah, I do so much of this sharing that sometimes it's hard for me to remember. Okay, which forum was I on last? You know what I mean? I'm trying to find. Let's see, where in the world was it?
It was a lady that she was interviewing you.
Wow. Yes.
Not the one in Florida. Was that the lady in the little tiny house?
Fiata. I think it might have been. And I'm embarrassed to say I think it might have been. But let's see if it's here. Oh my stars. Well, it has to do with. I am fascinated with the fact that everybody, I want you to know I'm running on fumes. So that is a true statement. I can't find it. Truly, I'm embarrassed to say. Where is it?
No, don't be embarrassed. That was a pop-up question, so it's okay.
Oh, here it is. It's on YouTube, and it's bringing deeper meaning to relationships through geometry. Yeah, bringing deeper meaning to relationships through geometry with Van Dorn Hennett. That's the name of the thing, and I believe it was a tiny. Yeah, I know it was now. It was Tiny House of Viata. Right. Okay. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Good stuff. So, any final words, Mr. Van Dorn? And if people are interested in your sacred geometry, which I still got to get I hate I didn't get to meet you when I was up there, but I'll be back. So I'll be looking you up when I come back to town.
Well, all you have to do is take my name and Google it, and you'll find tons of information. I have 3 books that have my name on it, and I have a website called Love Opera House of the Soul, which is actually the name of a book that I published a few years ago. So it's easy to find information about me. All you have to do is just Google Van Dorn Hennett. And like I said, I've never Googled myself, but other people tell me there's a ton of information out there. So, so anyway, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. No final words on our topic tonight?
Well, all I want to say is thank you for the present of your presence tonight. And I'm speaking to everyone that was on the call. Yes.
Nice. I love it. I love it. Well, I thank you guys. And also, too, for those who do not know me, I am Tammi B. I am a coach and a spiritual mentor, as well as a transformational speaker who would love to work with you one on one or part of your event as a speaker, panel guest, MC. You can obtain more information at www.thassawoman.com. So, with much love and gratitude, I thank everyone, my panel. I thank um, the viewers. I just thank you all, Mr. Van Doren coming in at the last minute. And I know this added some value to the lives of the viewers. Now, here's the thing, it was different. So, for those who are, not aware of this stuff, but listen, don't let it just fall to the wayside. Think about it, do your research, because I promise you it's good information. But again, Mr. Van Doren said red or blue pill. So it is a choice, but I do hope you are able to apply some of the stuff that we said into your life. So again, I thank you all for being a part of this. And again, I ask, if you're not part of our community, to join us by subscribing, as we are here weekly at 7:30 p.m. Eastern with new content. Also, for the free 99, yes, the free 99, I ask, please support us by dropping us a comment and or giving us a thumbs up by clicking the like button, as well as share this video with someone who you feel will add value to their lives, and they will benefit from it. We know they will, but please share the video, and we appreciate you. And listen, giving you guys a heads up, next week we're going to have a hot topic. We have some pastors that are going to be joining the panel, and we're going to have a talk as to why the church doesn't talk about domestic violence and other mental health issues. So I know that that's going to be a really deep conversation. So please, again, subscribe, click the notification so you'll know when we're here, because we are working to have an impact. That's what this is about. So in closing, since we have officially entered the holiday season, I leave you with these quotes. Holidays are a reminder that life is meant to be lived. And I think we kind of talked about that in a roundabout way here. Experiences are meant to be cherished, and memories are meant to be made. My words to go with this: stay present in the moment. And I think Mr. Van Doren just said that. Enjoy life to the fullest. That was one of the promises given to you in John 10:10, that you may live life abundantly, which one translation states to live it to the full. And in advance, I say to you, do yourself a favor. Be mindful of what you listen to. Avoid listening to songs that make you sad. You want things to uplift your spirit. You want things that are going to make you joyful, because when you do that, you are creating those moments to cherish and those memories to smile at. Until the next time, stay amazing. Peace, love, and blessings. Good night.